Already into one semi-final, which will be later this evening against Phil Harrison. And like you say, he doesn't need any introduction at all. If he can win that tournament tonight, he secures his #1 spot and cannot be caught.
It's like the ultimate free roll, isn't it? Starting a second tournament when you're still in the first one. Obviously he wants to do well in this one as well, and he's got form for doing the double, so I'm sure he's got that on his mind, but already through to that semi, as you say.
Yeah, I think with a player like Tom, a match is a match, and it's regardless of what round, who the opponent is, it doesn't really matter. It's him against the bulls.
Yeah, I mean, there's always this joke, he looks like so relaxed, you know, I'm not sure if he realises he's in a match half the time, but I think perhaps that does him a slight disservice. I think he probably does actually analyse things a bit more than you might think.
Loss of turn.
He's playing the loss of turn there. Sticking Lewis Roberts in with not a great deal to go at.
Lewis has been a good player for a long time. He almost got promoted at the end of the first season, got to a final of the Challenger events against Hitan Patel and lost in a deciding frame that would have seen him promoted. To his credit, he then came back the next year, played the Challenger again and did get himself up to pro status.
He's played a great shot there. And if there's any early nerves for Lewis Roberts, they're not being showed at all, are they?
No, I mean, he's a very good cueist. He's a former snooker professional as well. Nicknamed the cue maker, account of his profession making cues, but he's an expert using one as well.
Looks too young to be making cues and doing all these things. He looks about 12.
He's too young for everything, but good youthful looks, good genes. He's been around in the game for a good few years now. And actually, from a position where it looked like Tom had got him in a bit of trouble, that first shot has really opened things up. Great chance now to take the first frame.
He certainly wanted to come a bit further through with that.
Yeah, he wanted to be not far off straight on that. He's come up a long way short. He's going to have to do a bit of travelling with the cue ball now.
He's made the pot. What a great shot that was.
Yeah, it's such a smooth bit of cueing. A lot of people would hit that too hard thinking it was a very thin shot, but he's just cued it. And he's held position, which is amazing from where he was.
Cued it like a dream, Mark.
I mean, this has been a great first clearance, hasn't it? What a lovely first visit clearance from Lewis Roberts. Much more controlled than Tom, but gets a good result.
Just that last yellow there, just coming in front of that red. It's just made it look an awful lot harder. At first glances, where they go around the table, think this is going to be an absolute tap-in finish. That's just giving him that one little obstacle to overcome.
Certainly easier finish than the one he took out in the last frame. As you say, just all about how he gets on that cluster of balls at the bottom of the table.
Well, he wants to come down this right-hand side beneath the black and get an angle on one of the yellows there. So what he's going to do is take these two at the top. And I would maybe suggest that the yellow that's nearest, let's say, to the blue spot, but below it, you want an angle on that to go between the gap of the black ball and that other yellow, kick the yellow and red apart. Even if he kicked it full in the face and knocked the red in, that would be a better result. But I think there, if you see where the cue ball is there, now, if he was to be that in this position after this shot, he's got the angle on that yellow there, Mark.
So that's exactly what he's played.
Now then, this is the shot. He's looking to see if it is a straight plant, and he'll be more than likely playing this to try and play the yellow onto the red and not the red in the same shot. If he gets this shot, in the way I've just described it, this will be the frame. That's second prize, but it's still good enough.
Yeah, he'll settle for that. He wasn't playing for quite that contact, but actually that's turned out pretty well. The red's well out of the way, not causing any trouble.
He wants to play the one at the bottom. It's just an awkward stretch across the table for Lewis. So this isn't the ball he wanted to play, but because of convenience and comforting cueing, that's precisely the way he's gone. But dream start here for Lewis Roberts.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of his game anyway, but I don't think anybody was expecting this to be an easy afternoon's work against Tom Cousins. He's really started like a train. It's not just the fact that he's won the first 2 frames, but it just looks so solid. I mean, that first clearance was an excellent one. This has been a more straightforward one, but he's just made it look so easy.
Well, sublime cueing from Lewis Roberts as he takes a 2-0 lead. He gave those an almighty clatter. He's been rewarded with a ball.
Rule in international rules, he's going to get 3 balls past the line in the middle pockets for it to be a legal break. Tom's got pretty much all of the balls into the top half of the table at some stage with that break. Enormous hit. Not maybe quite as straightforward a layout as you'd have expected given how much movement he got on the pad.
Extension call.
Wants to get started. Obviously it's not a great problem to slip 2 or 3 frames behind, but he doesn't want it any more than that, so he wants to open his account.
It's the 2 yellows that are on the cushion. I think he's just trying to move that one over the middle bag there. This is what's going to cause him a problem.
Yeah, if they're a bit further apart, you can sometimes get into a position where you play between them and then play one way and one the other way, but they're too close together for that. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think he was trying to lift one of them off the cushion. It's just about got an angle to get into that area again now.
It's not so much the top yellow out of these 2 on the rail, it's the one beneath it, because it's very near the knuckle of the pocket. So even to get onto a double, it's going to be awkward. It could fly off at a funny angle. You can't really cut it down the rail because you're going to go into the knuckle as you do it with the cue ball. So that was the real problem.
Yeah, it's pretty much the worst place on a pool table, a ball just below one of the middle pockets. Tom is normally very good at not leaving his problem balls until late on. I often see him go after a difficult first shot to open things up. He tried to do that here, but slightly running out of options now.
Well, when he set off on this attempt at a finish, he wasn't envisaging having those 2 yellows being his last 2 balls left on the table, I'm sure.
No, I mean, if he drops nicely on, well, that's pretty good. I mean, as you rightly say, the one that's nearest the cue ball is going to be a tricky pot, but this is as good as he could do from the position he was in.
Yeah, had no choice. I mean, you see that yellow bit that's next to the cue ball, how close it is to that knuckle. And that one's in. Now you could get a funny reaction. It just, where it's sat. And the cue ball's going to be. The cue ball doesn't have to worry about because it will hold for the black. Oh, he's played that well.
That's a really good shot.
Well, I'll tell you what, he's worked, well, not to say worked miracles, but that's a tremendous out there for Tom Cousins.
Great.
Well, great break. Cue ball could have done with being a bit more central in the table and not hanging around the jaws of that corner pocket, I'm sure, for Lewis Roberts, but very good split. Nice explosion with the balls. I think he'd just probably be relieved that he didn't go off there.
Yeah, he wasn't far away from doing that.
See, reds would be the colour here, Mark, but the first one isn't easy. So does he just bite the bullet and play that yellow and play the plant up into that top right-hand corner afterwards? I mean, he's looking at me thinking, I really want reds. He can't really, he just...
It's so horrible as well. Yeah, it's a player of Tom's quality, because you know that if you go for a red, miss it, then you're just leaving the world for him. If you can get through to this one, yeah, that's a good shot.
Well, that's a pressure ball right there, because the man in the seat opposite you, and if you miss that, that's the frame gone, and all of a sudden your 2-0 lead that you had a couple of minutes ago has evaporated. That's a really good shot from Lewis Roberts.
Yeah, now he has got the favoured colour set. all the balls in possible positions. The one to the left of the cue ball doesn't quite go to the left centre, I think, but it certainly goes to both corners. He has got to make hay here. He knows full well that however well he plays, Tom Cousins is going to have some spell in the match where he dishes a few off his own break. Lewis has got to take advantage while he's at the table.
Well, I don't think he wanted to be there.
No, King of the 8 ball's not great. I mean, he doesn't have to do too much. He can drop the ball into the top right-hand corner if that's the only shot he's got available. He's just looking at whether this one does pot to the left centre. Well, it's a bonus if this goes in.
Well, I didn't think that went past.
No, it looked very tight when we saw it from the overhead a moment ago. Just squeezed it in, which is very helpful because he's now found a gap through to the one at the bottom of the table, and then he can link up middle and top last. In practice, this would be a formality, but it's just the thought going through your head. This is for a 3-1 lead. So incredibly hard to pick winners in this tournament because we're looking at a man who's currently ranked in the 50s and is absolutely taking the game to the 2-times world champion.
Well, you can't see Roberts missing this black. He's trying to get his hand as comfortable as possible, dead straight. And in it goes.
It's such a textbook cue action, isn't it? If you were to explain to somebody how to strike the ball, it's just absolute alignment the whole way through the shot. It's actually a good skill because there is a sort of pressure in giving those exhibitions and playing well. It's not the same as a tournament, but it does harden you up. Got some elevation on this cue ball.
I mean, what a break, and you cannot believe he's not got a ball. We saw one like Yannick Bafis did one earlier when Simon and I were in here. But it's just amazing when you hit the balls that hard that you don't get a ball off the break. You know, Tom Cousins has done nothing wrong, absolutely nothing wrong, and he's 3-1 down. All he's done is had a couple of dry breaks, and he played a loss of turn, which he didn't think, you know, was particularly dangerous. And Roberts has took out a science fiction finish on him.
All pool players feel aggrieved when they don't pot the ball off the break. Tom Cousins' break in particular is just so powerful. It always seems unbelievable when he comes up dry.
There's a little bit of a loose shot there from Lewis. And the red might just scrape past that black ball and be able to plant the one in over the corner. If he can, he should have a good chance of winning. You see he goes past. Oh, he's played it off the yellow. Clever little shot there from Lewis Roberts.
Just hearing news from the other side of the arena that Cormac Kerr has completed a 7-2 win over John Rowe.
That's a good win for Cormac Kerr. Great player, John Rowe.
Yeah.
As is Cormac.
Disappointing end to the weekend for John because it felt like he had a lot of potential.
He started off so well, didn't he? Another good shot there from Roberts.
So you have to play the ball that he's just cannoned now because he's landed on it about as well as you're ever going to get on it.
Nothing wrong with that shot.
Yeah, that's turned out fine. Ideally hoping not to have moved the second red, but it still goes, so that's not a problem.
And the way this is going and the way Roberts is playing, you mean Tom Cousins will probably start turning his attention to tonight's semi-final against Phil Harrison in Series 9.
Well, this is seriously good match practice for him ahead of that semi-final because it's not going to get any tougher game than this because Lewis has been pretty much textbook so far.
Those semi-finals will be on tonight from 7 p.m. First one up will be David McNamara against Rob Warne, and that will be followed by Tom Cousins taking on Phil Harrison, who's also been in fine fettle this week, isn't he?
Yeah, he sometimes sort of slips below the radar, doesn't he, Phil? But he's just relentlessly consistent. Ooh.
Well, a mistake from Lewis Roberts.
Yeah, the first error of any note so far. Looked like he was just going to slip past that yellow, but just got a bit too much of it. He's got himself into an awkward spot as well. He's obstructed the up and down with the yellow. He's going to have to go around the houses. It's running out of time as well.
Well, I think Tom Cousins can smell blood.
Yeah, look at this layout. He's moved all the reds. The only yellow down that end of the table goes past the red, so he can...
Such a big frame. I know we always say this, but to go 4-1 against Tom Cousins, and now it's looking 3-2. 3-2, it's anybody's match. 4-1, you think, well, I've got a bit of a cushion here. I can afford maybe the odd mistake, but, you know, he's going to be kicking himself, Lewis Roberts.
Yeah, and it's not just the scoreline, is it? Because Tom's under all the pressure at 4-1, but now once it's 3-2, he's thinking, well, that's not great, but it's okay. We're back in this now.
He'll be relieved as well because he's had such a big break in this frame, and to go dry.
Well, that's one of the few downsides to Tom's break. You basically never see him not split the balls up. Occasionally he goes dry, but the balls are always open, so those times he does hand the table over, it's usually for a fairly easy chance for his opponent. He always plays as though it's a practice position, but this absolutely is a practice position. Very little scope for anything to go wrong here. On the plus side for Lewis, it wasn't like he missed a pot. If he'd have sort of twitched the black or something, that would have been very bad for his mindset, but it was just a difficult positional shot that got away from him.
He's been measured by Cousins as he calmly strolls round the table and dispatches these yellows.
Poetry in motion, isn't it? Just so effortless around the table. It's a bit like the way Chris Melling ended that last match. Like he was practicing, he barely got down for half the shots in the last frame.
Chris likes to sort of a very fast glide, whereas Tom's measured sort of stroll around the table as if, you know, not care in the world.
3 frames to 2.
He's broken very well in this match. He's got to just put that out of his mind now.
Easier said than done. It's another good break though.
Yeah, I tell you what he did which was good there, which was not try and hit it too hard. 'Cause sometimes people, after they've had something negative happen to them, just try and put a bit more on the break and lose the timing, but he's replicated what he's done for the first 2 breaks. He's showing off his own handiwork when your nickname's the cue maker. I guess you've got to play with your own cues to demonstrate that prowess.
How do you know it's his own cue?
Wouldn't be a great advert, would it? Not something you see very often on a pool table. The spider called for. Struggling even to see this. Ooh, perilously close to a time foul, but it's okay.
I'm never comfortable using rests and spiders. Not for me. That's snooker players are far better at using all the tackle.
Well, it's just very unusual on a pool table, isn't it? When you're playing snooker, you get the rest out without thinking about it. But on a pool table, you're sort of almost surprised to find a position that you can't reach. As a result, people aren't that well practiced generally. I think a lot of players these days are very proficient with playing with the opposite hand, so the rare occasions you might need a rest, they don't.
Well, it's that, and there's also some players who use that little extra mini butt that will strap to the cue, or generally, well, this is when mistakes are creeping, because I've done it myself loads of times, and I think I can just stretch and reach that, and then you just don't play the shot with any sort of conviction and put unwanted side on the cue ball and all sorts, and it does cost you. You know, and I've been guilty of it myself. on many occasions. And just couldn't quite cut it enough into that top corner. You saw the cue ball spinning. It's hit the jaws and come out.
Yeah, you couldn't quite see the potting angle there. To turn it over with a trace of right-hand side. I think he may have been needed to hit it a bit slower to let that side take effect. The reason he didn't, though, is because he was worried about the position. He was trying to get the other red out. Not a great thing to have done. It's not an immediate loss of frame in the same way that the last one was, but it's highly likely to be. The problem we always say against Tom Cousins is he gets so many off his own break that it's very hard to get enough chances in a match. You basically have to take close to 100% of the chances you do have. If you're letting him in 2 frames in a row in open play, you know you're asking for trouble. So does he try and play into the 2 on the right-hand side cushion?
Yeah, just move it out. Well, he's moved it out, but he's not left himself in fantastic position.
Yeah, deliberately playing that with control. He didn't want the yellow to go too far, but not really sure where the white was going to.
Ideally, you'd like to sort of double kiss it and come out with it and be on it, if you like, but
Extension call.
it's quite unpleasant where he's landed. And he can play a double. I mean, obviously there's a cut up into the top left-hand corner. But it's just, you can just get to the cue ball. I thought he was be bridging over this. But he's overcut it. And it wasn't an easy shot. And then you see a very uncustomary miss from Tom Cousins.
Yeah, it really was. It was just the fact he was obstructed. Maybe having to play with a bit of right-hand side. Push the ball thin. So, second chance that Lewis won't have expected. Still got the one problem ball on the right-hand side cushion. This really is an important chance to get because now he is slightly dicing with trouble. He's let Tom in a couple of times. Could have been 4-1 up.
Here comes the double. You feel this is frame ball. He's just going to screw this back a little bit. And he's made it. You'd expect him to get that, though. He was in perfect position on it. And now this long red. We'll have another look. He just digs down with a cue ball.
Yeah, the top players are so reliable with those shots.
Oh my word. Well, he looked like he moved off his cue there as he struck that. He was up very, very quickly, and that's... You wouldn't associate that with the way that this young man cues. If you watch as he strikes this, he just seemed to move.
Yeah, it was a bit jabby, wasn't it? It didn't feel like he got the whole way through the cue ball. So disappointing. He'd done all the hard work there.
Well, this is, I think, the result of the last frame that's still hanging around in his head. And that is a real punch in the guts, that shot. You're thinking, please give me one more chance.
Yeah, it was one of those ones that it wasn't 100 out of 100, but Tom is just so good with that kind of long shot.
And it's a nasty shot, you know, it's a pressure ball as well.
Yeah, everyone's getting it kind of in the jaws, but if they're hitting it clean enough, you find the middle of the pocket like that. This has been a real let-off twice now for Tom. No question, if he gets it to 3-all, who's going to be the happier of the players?
Well, you feel that Tom's miss was down to a bit of hampered cueing. Whereas when they're open like this, you just don't expect him to make any mistakes, and he's not going to, is he? And this, I mean, Roberts could have been 5-1 up, and it's going to be 3-3. You feel the psychological damage that could have done to Lewis Roberts.
The cue power Tom has is amazing. We've seen several times this weekend he's played a ball that's almost straight. Doubt to creep into his mind. Good lord.
Well,
how
that's
high as he hit that.
Well, that one went to the moon and back.
That is an incredible break from Tom Cousins. We've seen a few where he's gone airborne. Look at this. Almost out of shot of the
wow.
camera, it's gone so high.
He's lucky it stayed on the table. That is incredible. Look at that. I mean, that is I've never seen a cue ball go that high off a break before. I can honestly say that, and I've played a lot of years. That's incredible. And also to stay on the table.
Well, that's the thing, because he hits it so straight. At the last event he had one like that, which I think made our highlights reel, where again it just shot straight up in the air, but because he'd cued it so straight, it landed in the middle of the table and no harm was done.
For a split second I didn't think he'd come far enough for this red, but he has. He's okay. He's put them both in the same shot, and in very quick style, Tom Cousins is starting to move up through the gears.
When he starts potting off his own break, it's just so hard to stop him, because he always gets a good split pretty much.
Yeah, played that well. Didn't have to do anything too much, just bring it past that yellow, just leave a shot here, because he's not going to miss this black, and this is to get his nose in front for the first time.
Yeah, I mean, it's very rare you actually see him knock it off the table. He quite often does go airborne. Well, a completely different break from Lewis, but I think he's potted off all the breaks so far this match. It's
been nothing wrong with his break. It's just a couple of frames that at the end of them he's made a little bit of a blunder.
It's obviously something he's worked on. I think in years gone by that maybe wouldn't have been seen as his number one attribute. You'd say his potting was, but that break is actually as good as virtually anybody's. The only person it's probably not as good at is the guy he's playing.
Again, a little bit loose.
Yeah, this is just what he wasn't doing at the beginning. He was going through the ball so smoothly. That one he just quit a little bit early. He's just come out so that he can see the red, but was playing to be much further out with the cue ball.
Yeah, he's dragging some baggage about with him now, Mark, unfortunately, I think.
Extension call.
A couple of misses have bore away in his mind a little bit, and played that nicely though. But a good finish here now, and that will straighten him up again.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you need, isn't it? It's basically, once you've won the next frame, you're okay, you're back into it. But whilst your opponent's knocking them off one by one, you just keep dwelling on it. I mean, 4-all would set up a great end to this match, given both players are playing well. Ooh, just dropped. So he's going to have to play one more shot here.
Well, you've got a choice. Could you try and dribble this and hold for the red in the bottom left, or do you play with a bit more pace and come out and have both reds in the same pocket? And he's just answered that question.
Yeah, I mean, played it in a positive way, which I guess is, particularly if you're feeling a bit nervous, is generally the way to go. So, we're level again. Lewis Roberts has righted the ship. Well, decided to get a bit less elevation on that one. It's just slightly less well struck, but he's still got a good connection on the pack. Most pool players, you end up with a cluster at the bottom of the table because you haven't moved the pack much, but what Tom's done is to move all the balls to the top of the table and then reform them up.
Extension call.
Well, they're tricky, these. He's probably not even decided what colour he wants yet. He's taking on this long yellow to the bottom corner.
Well, a collector's item. Not an easy shot, but for a player of Tom's calibre, not one he misses very often. So,
does he play it now to pop this yellow into the bottom right-hand corner, send the cue ball off that side rail and through the gap of the black ball and the red ball and into that little cluster at the top of the table?
it's a tempting angle. I mean, it's not a plain ball natural angle, but it's a sort of natural angle in the sense it's not a difficult one to make. But at the same time, if you play it and go wrong, well, it's an unwanted knock on the way up, but it's not a terrible outcome.
Looks like he has a plant mark into the top right.
Yeah, and if he does have a plant, I think he can push the second yellow through a little bit. I think he can just about get the white out. It may not actually be a bad angle.
I think I'd be tempted to play that plant and send the cue ball back down the table and take the yellow at the bottom.
Yeah, I agree. If he's got enough angle, because he needs to get the other yellow out of the way, and that would guarantee a shot at least. Yeah, not quite got the angle. Well, that was always the thing. It looked like that yellow was going to run through. I thought it was going to end up just a little bit higher
Played it a
than
bit
that.
soft. He did play that too soft. He did just sort of, I'm not going to say punch it through, but a lot firmer than that. Even if it went through too far, Mark, past the red, it would still be, even if it's on the rail, it's going to be available. Whereas where it's sat now, it's now awkward.
Yeah, it's very awkward. Because you can't get to it off this. You could try and leave an angle on the last yellow up near the break line to get over into it. Well, it's come down the table and that's gone all wrong. Well, that has not worked at all. It's going to have to come off the side rail, I think, now, and try and bump this towards the bottom left.
Well, it's no gimme. He's left Tom Cousins, but Tom is a player that you don't want to leave any chances to.
No, that's the thing. I mean, that's probably as good an outcome. Lewis was sort of trying to pot that, but at the same time he didn't desperately want it in because then he was going to be in trouble. Even that shot made to look very easy.
Yeah, I mean that's
angle.
quite tight, and he had to get the cue ball up because he wants to now pot this one in the middle and come downstairs again and take the red at the bottom, and then he'll be sailing back up to the top of the table to try and sort out those four reds at the top. It's got a little bit of angle here. Should just top this through off the bottom rail with the cue ball into the side rail and up towards the red that's on that cushion on the right hand side. This is his route.
This table's been playing very nicely. The cushion's not too slippery, so it should be okay with getting the spin to grip off the cushion. It's just a little bit short. If he'd have ended up completely straight on the one on the right hand side, it would have been easier to run through for the ball to the opposite top corner. Able to almost manufacture the angle.
He wanted to be further up with that cue ball. In an ideal world, he'd love to have been straight on this red that's next to the yellow, and it would have been rollings. Now he's probably going to have to contact that yellow somehow. So it's
Yeah, does he commit to leaving the other red to the middle, or does he try and contact the yellow and get past it?
I think you might find him play this at a little bit of pace.
Yeah, he's just committed to the ball to the middle, just needs to bump the yellow out the way.
Probably like to play it a little bit harder so he wasn't too hampered here, but it's not too bad. And he'll take that.
Yeah, this has been a good finish. There haven't been lots of sort of long power shots, but he's playing a series of very well judged positional shots which has set the clearance up. And Lewis Roberts yet again had a chance, just slipped behind in the match.
Clinical there from Cousins though of the last event and trying to just go on and get really deep into this one and maybe lift the title here and now, then it would be regarded as a successful week for him. But if he was to go out, say in the next couple of rounds, it would have been a pretty poor week at the office for him.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has different standards. For some players, getting through a few rounds is a great weekend, but for the likes of Tom, Chris, Stevie, if you're not winning at least one of the 2 trophies, you almost see it as a disappointment. It almost got absurd at the beginning of the season. Tom won 3 out of the first 4 Pro Series. Almost like we could just hand him the trophy when we all arrived.
That's it. See, no one's entitled to be eating at the top table. You've got to battle your way there.
Yeah, I mean, people underestimate both how long it takes to get there and also how much practice it takes. It's been well documented that Tom wasn't playing as much a year or 2 ago. He's really upped his practice regime. The results are pretty evident. I think he's just got the angle here, putting this ball in the middle. He can just find the gap between the yellow and black to just push the cue ball through and flick them out the way. Oh, wow, that's not the gap. He needed to come off the right-hand side of the yellow, not the left-hand side.
Yeah, it's making them worse. When you were saying earlier, we like to say Tom Cousins, with all the victories and the wins, the other thing that comes with that is the fear factor. So players that are halfway down the ranking list, when they come up against you, because you're so relentless and punishing, that they're frightened. And it's just a natural reaction. Not every player, but it will be there in the back of the mind when they're on a long ball. If they're playing in a local club or they're playing somebody else, not bothered, but because of the name and who they are playing, that ball suddenly becomes twice as hard.
Yeah, that's the fear factor that all the greats get. I mean, that was a key ingredient in Nick Hill winning so many world titles. Obviously his own skill was the primary ingredient, but the fact that he'd established such a reputation meant that when you had big occasions like World Championship matches, people were just not able to bring their A game half the time.
Well, all the eggs in one basket here for Lewis. He has to pot this and dig deep and screw into the yellow ball. Oh, I don't think it goes in that corner. See, it had to be exact contact onto that yellow. He had to be sat there with the red playing it into the right-hand corner. And then you see that is not going in that corner. Where does he go? Does he try and double it off the bottom rail into the centre pocket? Probably a big slide. You get off that bottom rail, but I think that's the only shot. He was looking at the 3 cushions, but that was never there. And all he succeeded in doing there is parking his red in an unwanted position. I know it's blocking that yellow, but Tom won't mind that.
No, Lewis isn't going to like the outcome of this, because if Tom doesn't find a way of cannoning the yellow out, he's got a very easy snooker he can play at some stage.
And force him to make an attempt at knocking. And if you come into that red full ball, all you're doing is pushing the yellow further at the table and over that bag.
I mean, to be fair to Lewis, it was an awkward situation. The cocked hat double wasn't quite there, but
played 2 in 1 there as Tom. He's left that yellow there as well at the top, so Lewis will hit this. But what Tom's done there is put that yellow very adjacent to the one that's on the rail, so he can move it if required.
Had to play it with pace, because there's no point just knocking into it, because as you say, he was just going to knock the yellow out and leave the red where it was. Tried to come into it hard in the hope that maybe he could have doubled it across the table. In the end, gone past the thin edge of it. He has slightly worsened the pattern of the balls, but it's not really going to make much difference, because if Tom feels like one visit isn't enough, he can just play another snooker.
Well, I think he's playing to kick into the red and yellow now with this angle. Played it well. Has he got the result? Might have to come downstairs for this yellow at the bottom of the table.
Doesn't mind at all. This wouldn't be the ideal route, but it's got a lot of space to play with in the middle of the table. nicely for the one down the left rail. All the one to the right corner. Great chance this to go 6-4 up in this race to 7.
I'll be tempted to play the one that's on the cushion now. Tom's got other ideas. Who am I to second guess him?
Yeah, I mean the one on the cushion's the only one that's well, not difficult, but potentially difficult as a pot. You think you might be keen to move that?
Well, he's not going to be leaving it last, that's for sure. So he's going to play now this yellow off the side rail, bring the cue ball over, and then he'll play that one that's on the cushion. Or just leave himself just a little angle to be able to come down for the black ball. And it looks like Top Cat is going to move to within 1 frame of winning this match.
Yeah, he's just had a bit too much these last few frames. Not over yet though. Another very well judged positional shot. And as Tom gets down for this 8 ball, the clock is ticking towards the 10-minute mark, so when we resume in frame 11, we'll be down to the 15-second shot clock after the break. But as we've said, he'll be back in action in the semi-finals of event 9 later on this evening.
Well, look at the break as well. Incredible split, but Tom Cousins goes in off. Just lost the cue ball there, straight in off as well. He would be pretty annoyed with himself with that one.
Yeah, it was, you could see the camera was directly behind that. It was always arrow straight towards the corner pocket. And actually there is a glimmer here for Lewis, because he's got a great chance for a clearance here. That it will be his break in the next frame. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves because there's a lot to happen between here and there, but there is a chance of getting himself back into this match.
You sound like you're getting ahead of yourself, Mark.
It's the job of all good commentators, just curse the player at the table.
Always.
Speculate on an outcome that isn't yet ready.
Correct. It's the only way to do the job. He's overrun it. Should be okay though, but in an ideal world he'd like to just been straight on that, just plop it in. He's going to go for the middle next. Played that well. Didn't really want that nudge off that red. Now he's made this a bit awkward.
Yeah, it didn't look like he needed to do that much with the cue ball. I'm surprised he tried that positional shot. Well, the 8 ball's down. The cue ball flying around the table, but it has stayed on the playing surface.
Had the pleasure of him joining me on the comms box the other day, and that is just an absolute disaster for Lewis Roberts.
Yeah, that was the last thing he wanted. Really needed a ball off the break, but the only one he made was the white.
Extension call.
So, unable to take the last chance because he went off in off his own break. Tom Cousins now with a chance for victory.
A good chance as well. This is a real good look at the finishing line for Cousins. I was going to say he's still going to be unbeaten this week. Just don't forget we're going to see him later this evening in that semi-final of event number 9 in the Pro Series.
Yeah, it's just a mad record, isn't it? To play all this pool and still not lose a single match.
No. He's going to have a battle on his hands. He's got Phil Harrison. The coverage of those semi-finals will start from 7 p.m. It'll be David McNamara taking on Rob Warren first, and then it'll be Cousins versus Harrison. At the moment, it's Tom Cousins now trying to keep up this unblemished run this week.
What a story that would be if he has 2 deep runs. Now, what's he done with this yellow?
Well, thankfully for Tom, it's not hiding behind the red completely. I mean, he can just pop this in over the bag, and if in an ideal world, he just wants to be dead straight on this, so he can just roll it up into that top corner, and the black's going to be easy to get on. He'll take that. The cue ball will naturally move that red out of the way, and it will help him get onto the black ball. There's nothing really to do with the white. And in it goes. Well marked.
What a performance this has been from Tom Cousins. He dispatches this 8-ball and completes a 7-5 win over Lewis Roberts.